is Tristan and Bianca, and we are back for another Bad Ideas. Today we are going to talk about Miss Marvel, which is now on Disney+. It has the first 3 episodes available, and we're going to talk about it now. Full disclosure, there will be spoilers. There are parts that we both want to talk about when it comes to this show. And honestly, Bianca, give me 3 words to describe this show. Give me your first impression.
This is amazeballs.
That kind of fits you know what? Right off the bat, I want to talk about the aesthetic. It is so cool how they do very simple thing like text messages or what's going on in her mind, her fantasizing.
Transitions too.
Yes.
Sam Raimi, eat your heart out.
You know what? This is how you do a show for kids. Straight up, this is perfection in that sense.
And I usually didn't watch live action stuff as a kid, but if this was out for kids when I was a kid, I would be like, yo, this thing slaps.
Yeah, and it's okay, so in the very first episode they had Blinding Lights. I love that song. It fit perfectly in the trailer, and then they brought it kind of in. The music in this is really good, but there's something so cool like that intro in the first episode where she's talking about the YouTube videos she does. That girl has talent. It's so cool.
I'm like, dang, you're so creative. I can never be.
I'm like, I just yell at a screen, but you go, girl. I absolutely loved it. It was so good. And then another thing I really enjoyed about this, and I'm going to put this right in front because this is going to trigger some people and they'll be gone. The fact that they named, and I don't know if you actually know this, so full disclosure, I've watched all 3 episodes. Bianca's watched the first one, but she doesn't mind being spoiled. They actually named grandmother, Sana. And then in the 3rd episode, we actually see a guest appearance by Sana Amanat.
Who's that again?
She's the creator of the character of Kamala Khan.
I'm so dumb. I don't know anything about Kamala Khan's origin.
Yeah, and you know what? They changed a lot. She was originally an Inhuman, and I'm not going to pretend I know a whole bunch about the character, but I know that they changed almost everything when it comes to her origin. She's not an Inhuman anymore. She's actually Asian, and she actually is completely revamped. Yeah, and I actually think it fits better, especially if they're not bringing the Inhumans into the MCU. I think it works a lot better. But her being a Jinn, I love because it's all tied to Muslim folklore. It's all tied to that, maybe she's an angel, maybe she's a demon. We don't know yet. Which side does she kind of lie on? And I love it. I think it's awesome. You don't even know who the villain is yet, do you?
There's a villain? All I know is that the girl she has a one-sided rivalry against who didn't even wear the Captain Marvel costume correctly. But not gonna lie, it was pretty interesting how she did that costume.
I thought it was adorable. It looked very much so like a typical kid, like a amateur cosplay.
Yeah, it was like it's the Miss Marvel outfit, but with the Captain Marvel colors. And I said, "Oh, that kind of looks interesting." Honestly, if the comics actually did that, just changed the colors, I think that would be kind of cool.
I think so too, and she played into the her culture, with the sash around her waist, and then eventually bringing on the I don't even know, the bracelet. The bracelet that eventually does have the powers. But the funny thing about this is the villain, and I'm gonna spoil it here, is actually her auntie. Wait, hold on, it's her great grandma.
I was gonna say, what? Was an auntie shown?
No, well, they have the Illuminantes, as they call them, but they have the this backstory. I'm not sure if you got to see the conversation with her nanny.
Not yet. That might be in the
3rd
episode.
Yes, and she kind of explains how terrible of a person this woman is, and it ends up being her great grandmother,
You're
and
gonna
they
have to kill
kind of
her.
well, they were Jin, and they were like cast out, right? So they were sent to
Mm.
Earth, and they want to use her, and it's kind of the typical story. And honestly, there was quite a few tropes I noticed, but that were done really well. Like when you think of the CW show, you think of that like teeny angst, tropey, terrible
Played
dialogue
by
stuff.
30-year-olds.
Yes. Yeah. That's the sad thing. But this one actually I think is playing into like the friend. Oh, I can't think of his name right off the top of my head. Um, he is definitely going to be the guy that like comes around and is like, oh, Bruno. Um, that ends up being the love interest. I don't know if you kind of caught that yet or not.
Their chemistry is amazing.
They both, I want to say right off the bat, the girl that plays Iman Vellani, for being a newer actress, is adorable. Like, is such a good actress for just being relatively brand new. And then their kind of back and forth is really, really good. And like, even so much so, like, we can see that trope emerging of, he's actually in love with her. He actually is this. But I don't think, even with it being tropey, it's bad. It's the execution that makes the difference, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Even though I don't really mind those like subplots or whatever, for me it's actually pretty believable as long
Oh,
as
yeah.
I don't freaking get what's that thing called? Supporter character syndrome or something like
What is
second
that?
love interest. So like if despite me not liking romance and all that stuff, I do watch like
Right.
romance anime or K-drama and all that stuff. And sometimes there would be like a love triangle.
Mhm.
And usually the rule is the first person you see, that's who you get with. But you see like the supporting character who's like the other love interest that's, quote unquote possible, but it never really is. And you see them like hanging out with the protagonist and you're like, oh my gosh, I love this dynamic way more. But of course they'll never be with the protagonist, and that's the second syndrome, like the second character syndrome or the second love interest syndrome,
So
because
you
you
have
always end
not
up
been in there.
liking the the not main couple.
Oh my god. So, second episode will introduce a character named Cameron.
Gosh dang it.
And that's exactly what's gonna happen. But the weird thing is okay, he's clearly using her, but he like also cares for her. So the weird thing is like it's her great grandmother's son. So it makes it all so much fucking weirder because isn't this
What?
yes, it's so weird.
Is this normal in this culture?
No, they're using her for her bracelet. But like I'm like, wait. What's going on here? This feels very dirty. Like
Wait, so you
it
said it's the great grandma's son.
yeah.
How old is this son?
17.
That's a lie. No way she's still fertile.
They don't age.
Oh gosh dang, so they can just breed?
I guess so. They age but very slowly. The Jin. It's weird.
So does that mean
They made it weird.
the great grandmother looks young?
Yes, like maybe in her 50s.
Oh, okay.
Honestly,
That's
one thing that you've
so weird.
seen, what did you think of how the culture was displayed?
I don't think there was as much, but there's just some little spots here and there, like the going shopping, this really extremely small bags, going to the trucks to get the food. Excuse me, sorry.
But you
To get
also got to see like her, interacting with her parents and stuff, right? Like with AvengerCon.
Yes, that was in the first episode. She wanted to go, but they couldn't. Like I already knew her. I do like Bruno's optimism or enthusiasm that she's for some reason going to say yes, and I'm like, she's not going to say yes. What do you mean?
Right.
Why would you ever say yes? Like, especially with the age they're at, even if you're with friends, I wasn't allowed to go anywhere at any age.
That is exactly opposite for me. I had no parental guidance when it came to that, but I actually thought it was really when
It
you
was
get a
mostly due to paranoia, though.
right. And I really liked the mother and father. Especially like Yosef the dad was really upbeat and kind of fun, kind of really trying for his daughter. And not that the mom wasn't, but like he was just there was something endearing about him. And I think so I'm not going to lie, right off the bat when I was on to the 3rd episode and you met the brother, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So the brother actually is getting married. And basically what we see is we see this beautiful kind of amazing wedding. And I got super emotional. This culture was so well done that it reminded me. I grew up in a very Muslim dominated area. My best friend at the time was ooh, they were all Muslim for the most part, the female friends that I had, and I would hang out with a girl named Fatima and her sister Zainab, and we would go to Eid. We would go to these festivals. We would go and I was the girl that always kind of was learning through the experience because I was unfamiliar at that time with the culture. So in the 3rd episode, they got this so authentic to me that it reminded me of those times. Like I got I kind of had to like step back for a moment and kind of just chill cuz I could feel that rising in my chest where I was like, "Oh my god. Like how do you do this?" So like I know how they do it so well. They have people on staff and everything else, but it was so authentic to me that it reminded me of my childhood. It reminded me of going to Eid. It reminded me of all these amazing festivals and down to the point like where it was like, okay, well, we got to sneak around, my aunt, we got to sneak around these people. We knew how to navigate when we were at Eid. We knew how to get and kind of get around the rules. Her father was the more strict one, but we knew how to get around the rules, right? We were kids. And it was so authentic, like I welled up and it reminded me of that time. It was I don't know if maybe that's why I'm so drawn to this series as a whole, but I can say without a doubt with only seeing 3 episodes so far that I'm enjoying this much more than I have any other Disney Plus series. I love some of the other ones. Loki and Moon Knight are phenomenal. But this one to me gets me in the feels.
I feel like it's maybe because this one seems more personal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And almost to the point like I remember being that young girl. I remember being that girl that was trying to help my friend sneak around. Not and I was totally nice. I was totally, okay. No, we definitely did our amount of sneaking around, but it was
Uh,
like even down to who chooses their hajib, who chooses when to go to mosque, who like the prayer, everything was so authentic down to the racism. It's so bad, but it's true.
I guess I haven't seen that yet.
The agents in the 2nd issue are from Damage Control. Do you remember Damage Control from like Spider-Man and stuff?
Which the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man?
No, like the animated stuff. I'm not sure if you've ever seen that.
The animated stuff. Which animated? Like, there's
I
a lot of
don't
Spider-Man
remember. I
animated
know
ones,
there is.
though.
Basically, Damage Control is like a weird version of Shield, right? Like they come in and clean up stuff, but like they walk
Okay, so
into
not from any Spider-Man cartoon I've seen.
well, yeah, that's probably true. I don't remember which one. I've only watched like 2, so they walk into mask with their shoes on. First off, like have a little respect, and then they come in and they're like, "We're gonna search this place," and Have you had a decent introduction to her friend Nakia?
Decent introduction? She's shown.
Okay. She's
That's all I
awesome.
can say.
She's
But she's
awesome and she go
no, no,
ahead.
you can go.
She does this whole like, yes, I'm brown and I'm proud type thing, and I'm a woman in this culture, and I'm still gonna run for council on the board at mosque, and it's kind of awesome, and it works. And so when they show up, when damage control shows up, she's like, "You can't come in here without without a warrant," da da da, and kind of, you know, lays down the law. And she's like, there's this one great line where she's like, are you here because you're scared this person has powers? Or are you here because you're scared this person has powers and is Muslim? Like, it's fucking phenomenal. Though I will not lie, damage control is very tropey. It is very much so like, oh, like exaggerated white Karen. Almost to the point. Remember in Moon Knight, the Karen in the beginning that was real rude to Steven?
Yes.
Like, kind of along the same lines, except for more evil.
Oh.
But it works, because this is a kid's show. At the end of the day, I've seen a lot of these videos, like, this is the lowest rated... Wait, hold on, I can do this. The lowest viewed, not rated, the lowest viewed Marvel show to date. Well, of course it is. This is a kid's show. Marvel generally doesn't do kid shows. They're just testing the waters, seeing how it goes. This is a character that was they sold well, but it was relatively divisive when it was introduced because a lot of people put all this power in Sana Amanat that's just not there. And she created this character, and she was very loud and proud about being Muslim and Pakistani and did not care what people thought. That's kind of just how Sana's always been. And a lot of people didn't like that, and she became a target in a very similar way that we see like now Vida Ayala being a target. So for years you've had video after video about Sana is bad, Sana is bad. So of course this is the lowest viewed so far. We're seeing a brand new idea come to life. And honestly, I love it. Oh, do you remember? I wanted to mention this. Do you remember all those rumors that she was fired, Sana?
Who's Sana again?
Oh my god. Okay. I think you'll recognize her face once I show you. Now Sana, I don't know how to spell her name. Has been around for quite a while. She created the character. Let me share my screen so you can see what she looks like. I'm assuming you might recognize her.
No.
No? Okay. All right. Well, that's fair enough. She created the character. She works for, let me see if I can bring it up so I know. She's a Pakistani American comic book editor and director of content and character development at Marvel. She's Pakistani Muslim American. She worked on Captain Marvel, Hawkeye, Ultimate Comics, Spider-Man, and Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel is the first Muslim American superhero. Now, she was also the one that created her.
Oh, okay. I have to remember these names.
I know. And especially when it comes to Marvel, it's a little harder because Marvel sucks compared to DC, let's be real. But my point here is about 4 months back, there was an influx of heavy rumors that Sana had been fired. That Sana had been taken, she hadn't done enough in Marvel, da 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 da. And it so much to the point you had people going, oh no, this is not a rumor, this is fact. Which obviously it was not. Now, fast forward to when I watched this yesterday. They named I'm going to get all this incorrect. So comment below the actual character. I think it's the mother of the mother. Okay. One of them's
the
name
mother
is
of the
Sana.
mother, of course.
Yes. The mother of, I should have wrote this down. Name is Sana. They named her after Sana. And actually, within the first or the third episode, we see Sana show up. Meaning, Sana was not fired. That this was all like typical BS.
The usual.
The usual. Let me show you what exactly I mean, because
Ooh.
it'll explain a little bit more. And since you don't mind spoilers, I'm going to show you. This is actually the scene I got relatively emotional in.
Oh my god.
Because it was so authentic. But I do want to pause it here
Oh,
in
his
just a
wife is
second.
beautiful.
Beautiful, and they treat her like a princess.
I've always loved those camps, not gonna lie. Oh,
Where
is that
are you?
Bruno?
Yeah,
We don't talk about Bruno.
that's right. Where are you, Sana? She's here, I promise. I'm not crazy.
I love the
There she
dad so
is.
much.
I
Oh,
know, I do too.
I don't know why, but like out of everybody, she seems like a standoffish person. Like, oh yes, it's obviously that person that you should be focusing on. Just the way this is shot.
Oh, yeah. And it just makes me laugh because I got so many comments. Are you going to cover that Sana was fired? No, I do cover rumors. I do cover stuff, but I also know when something is bullshit. And here she is, front and center in the character she created. I'm sorry, but that's a win for me. That's got to be a really proud moment.
Oh, that's so sweet.
It is. And I'm happy for her. I think there's a level of I don't know, a level of humanity that's kind of lost upon our world right now, and it's really, really kind of sad. But I think it's really cool. I think it's nice to know that a character she worked on that meant a lot to her has such an authentic show. Like, really down to even the language. I was shocked at how, like, how close they were able to do the language because it was of course I accidentally clicked my phone. It was so well done, like the Urdu, like the different way that they speak in Pakistan as compared to other countries, the way that they went through the history of the British invasion. Like, it was amazing. I'm not gonna lie. I am so impressed that they were able to put that, like, how I love the way that they oh, it's not a term of endearment, but the way that they call, they actually use Urdu to speak to each other. They don't call each other son or daughter, you know? It's actually, I think it's
Chalo?
no. I think it's beta and beto. I'm pretty sure
Yes.
if I remember correctly.
I was like, okay, beta and beto is something you would tell your kids. And then I was seeing chalo and I'm like, oh, but gosh dang, what is chalo though? Like I was trying to use context clues for everything. Which it's kind of easy once you start hearing it enough. And if you actually care to pay attention.
Right, and there was a couple times, like, it's been years, right? It's been 20 years, well, maybe not quite, 15 years since I've been heavily around the culture. So there was a couple times I paused it and I'm like, I'm gonna remember this. I swear I'm gonna make myself remember this. Looking up the words, looking up the different meanings, because, like, I don't know, I do that with comics too. If I'm reading something and I don't know what the word means, the only way to help me is to actually look it up. And that's what I do with everything. So I'm like, I knew what Beto and Beto meant. And I knew what a lot of them words. I don't remember. What word did you say? It started with chalice?
Chalo.
Chalo. And now I
Like, come
gotta
on,
look it up.
chalo. Something like that. And I was like, oh gosh, what's chalo?
I have no idea. I don't know that one.
Dang it, I trusted you. I
It
put all
says it
my
means
faith in
walk.
you.
Oh, it means like vamonos. Let's go.
Ah, I was like, I was probably thinking that too. And I'm like, it's one of those. It's got to be something.
I don't know. I think Disney Plus clearly put a lot of thought into how to create a Pakistani Muslim character. And even so much so, I did see people complaining that she said brown girls in Jersey don't get to save the day.
So that's where I actually got emotional. But not for what you think, I guess. So usually I tend to cringe at that type of line.
Right.
I was even like laughing a little bit before saying like I was thinking about Jersey cows. And then as soon as the friend was like, "No, they absolutely do." And that's when I started crying. I'm like, "Why am I crying?" And I'm like, I've been trying to figure it out for a while now. And it's like, well, first of all, maybe it was because I was on my period and I was emotional, even though I was laughing like 2 seconds before. Or it was like, this is why I was talking about their chemistry, because it's like and talking about how their conversations actually seem real, because it seems like he genuinely believed that and knew what he was
Yeah.
talking about and everything. And it's like it doesn't feel ham-fisted in any way. And I'm just like, wow.
No, I totally get it. It felt like, of course, we know that's gonna go by the way of romance, but it also felt like he was very much so just there for her. Like, he lived through her struggle. I mean, the scene I just showed, he's obviously like, he goes to Eid with them. He goes to all of these different festivals. He's her best friend first. And that reassurance was what she needed. And I thought it was a really good dynamic. There is one line. I know you didn't get to see it yet, but I got to ask you about it. So there's a cringe line. Now, this comes from the damage control people. The lady that almost died, I guess, in the first episode, Claire, you know what I'm talking about? That dressed up as Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, she gets taken in and questioned. And they do this like, try to do bad cop, good cop, but it kind of turns into bad cop, bad cop. And they start asking her about who saved her. And they're like, was she brown? Was she this? Was she Muslim? Was she, because obviously they can tell she was brown, right? And then they go, was she Latina? Or should I say Latinx? That's what the new generation says, right? And I kind of rolled my eyes, but also in the same sense, it was coming from this racist bitch. So I'm like, she's trying to demean her. So it kind of worked in that situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, so like, so I was hearing people complain about the Latin X. They're like, "Oh, I can't believe they used Latin X." And then I saw a comment, I think on Purchase video,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like, "Well, the reason I don't have a problem that they said Latin X is because they were saying it in a mocking way anyway."
Yep.
And I was like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Okay, so whether people are not like, just by watching it, are still not understanding the context and think they just want to add it in, or they didn't watch it and just heard, oh, Latinx was in the show, so that's the reason why they hate the show even more." And I'm like, sorry, but that doesn't make any sense. If they're trying to mock it, then they are with you. At least this person is.
I'm gonna actually show you the clip because it's only 30 seconds long, because I want to get your actual opinion, because it's very clearly they're mocking her.
No. Was she Latina? I'm sorry, I'm supposed to say Latinx now.
Latinx now. Latinx now.
Okay, someone edited this. I didn't realize that.
Oh, look, that's what it
Okay, I guess I thought this was the actual clip, but regardless, you get the context. She's being a dick.
Yeah.
And right before that, they had been like, or maybe it's right after that. Is she Muslim? Was she from a mosque? Like, she was very clearly trying to be an asshole. That's why I had no issue with it. It was a mocking tone at Claire, because Claire is, I guess, has a bunch of followers and you know, got a bunch more followers because of the situation with Miss Marvel in the first episode. So yeah, I don't have an issue with that. I actually think it was funny. I know what video you're talking about. And Perch said he thought it was a little bit cringe that they used that there, but actually it works. If you're going to use that word, which most Latina or Latino people dislike, that's the way to do it, in my opinion.
Oh, you didn't hear that.
Are you fighting with your mic again?
No, I'm fighting with my phone.
I had no idea that was a mocking video. Like, is that serious?
It's a mocking video that used it mockingly, so they're mocking the people who are mocking the word for the TV show. It's all Inception.
Goodness. One of these comments say, please don't ever say Latinx again, Agent Deaver. It's disrespectful. That's
Deaver?
The agent's name. I didn't even know that was the agent's name. But that's the point. That's actually the point. She's trying to be disrespectful. Do you really think this woman that they're clearly, kind of putting the racist angle on was trying to be respectful? No.
If she was, she's like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I meant to say it was Latinx. Trust me, I'm not racist.
Yeah. I'm always a little sus when someone's like, I'm not racist. I promise. Or they do that whole thing where they're like, well, I have a black friend. Okay, sure. Right. It doesn't work that way, buddy, but okay. I just don't get how people can't take context into situations. Like, that's another thing. I said earlier when it came to Sana that empathy is glossed upon, quite a bit of our generation. Context also has disappeared. It's a weird
context
thing.
is not here anymore.
Like, going back to Chip Zdarsky, he was writing Batman the Night. And do you remember when everyone freaked out? They said Batman they were making him bisexual.
Yeah, something like, I remember.
And when you add context, it's completely a false claim. But context, nuance are fucking dead. And it's scary. And it's ridiculous.
Just like with allegations or whatever, too.
Allegations are now guilt.
Truth, I guess.
And
while this Ezra Miller is going on, I'm not even part of this fandom, so to speak.
Right.
I just know of it, and I'm like, I have to watch this because it's more like an indie, I guess. Robert showed you the video. That's the one you got copyright striked on, I believe.
What was it?
Hell of a Boss. That's what
Hell of a Boss.
is.
Yes.
So the name is called like Vizzy Pop. For some reason, she's been getting all these random allegations on Twitter that she is a terrible person. This person who's like HR, who's her best friend, is also a terrible person. Everybody is overworked and underpaid, and that blah blah blah. This is why this person has this character has two voice actors, and they left because it was a terrible experience and all that stuff. And then just now I got the notification the drama might be over, and I'm like, whoa, this has been going on for the past few weeks. I'm like, what's going on? So the people who said that they were overworked, underpaid,
right,
and all that other stuff, they have never worked there.
No.
And one person who I could have sworn that person worked there from what they said.
Right.
And they were like, I was this, I was ghosted and all that stuff. And so that's what, and I was told not to say anything because I would get attacked by their crew and all that stuff. And their crew DM'd me saying, don't say anything about the fandom, blah, 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 blah. And then it's now realized that they have never worked for them and that they just DM'd them of a project.
Oh my goodness.
And they were never like contacted back. They were just ghosted. And this person blamed everybody else. He's like, I never said I worked there. That's all of your fault. And I'm like, literally from what you wrote, you made it sound like you were working there and that you were treated terribly because you still were complaining about how they were a terrible person. That makes no sense. And then the person who is like in charge of the whole thing, she has really bad mental health issues. So like this has been like really bad for her mentally. And now everybody who has actually worked there, whether they left or not, are now coming out and saying, okay, first of all, nobody is overworked, nobody is underpaid. You get to choose how much you want to work, and of the animation part.
Right.
And so everybody's saying that, oh, they were giving too much work, they were crunching and all that stuff. They're like, that's a lie. You choose how much you want to work. If you are inexperienced and you burned yourself out because of it, that's what you did, because you chose that much work, which you could have stopped or gave it to somebody else. And it's like kind of suckish. And I'm like, wow. And the thing is, I almost believed these allegations at first, and then I'm like, wait, Johnny Depp, Ezra Miller, let me wait. The evidence finally came out, and I'm just like, okay, I was good. It was good that I waited, because now everything I heard from these so-called quote-unquote employees were a bunch of bull.
And the thing that sucks about it is you waited. That doesn't mean everyone else did. They need to learn the lesson too, that allegations do not equal guilt. But probably to some fans, what sucks is the damage may already be done and it can't be undone. It's like putting, toothpaste back in the tube. It's impossible.
Not unless you try. There's some people who are still trying to go at the person through the people who are like defending, who actually work there and stuff. They're like, she has a bad past, and they're like, okay, but that doesn't mean what the allegations are true, especially since we currently work here, and this is what we're actually telling you. This is how it works in this place. And they're like, I don't believe you. I don't have to follow her. Okay, I don't have to follow her. I've been following her since 2014. I don't have to see anything that she posts anymore. And they're like, then why are you still here? You don't want to follow her, but you've been doing it since 2014. Nobody's forcing you. He's like, you can't tell me what to do. And I'm like, oh my gosh, bro. You obviously care so much that you hate the person that you won't let it go. And not only that, but they work there currently and they're telling you that it's all fake. But because a person has a bad past, that means it's real, I guess. Anything they say.
Wait, what kind of bad past has damned her to that? Like,
I honestly have no idea. I don't know of it. They do, but it's honestly like it's
real.
It doesn't really matter, especially since they've been changing, I guess.
That's absolutely what I hate about cancel culture. It's what I hate about cancel culture. Doesn't matter which side. Like, we see the right canceling Ezra Miller right now. We've seen the left canceling people, all like Dave Chappelle or whatever. Not really canceling them because they actually didn't lose work, but whatever. Semantics. There is no road to redemption. If you were a bad person in their eyes in 2012, you're a bad person now. If you are an eccentric person, or, possibly genderqueer, or something along those lines, you're a bad person forever. There is zero road to redemption when it comes to cancel culture, and I fucking hate it. Like, I know I reviewed that Miles Morales comic, that one that was... It was
Every
racy.
time.
By Odin's Fade. But the guy came out and he apologized. And I got to at least give him the benefit of the doubt at this point if I'm going to practice what I preach, because it looks like he realized he fucked up, and that's a growing moment. That's a learning moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also a little sus of what he actually thinks of Black people, but I digress. I have to actually practice what I preach. And not hold that shit against somebody. You've got to let somebody learn. There are probably, and I've taken most of them down, but a lot of videos that I'm ashamed of that I made. Things I said. I know.
You said puppies are crap. Oh my gosh, guys, we gotta cancel
puppies
Tristan.
Are officially worse than kitties. Just putting it out there. But I'm just saying, there has to be a road to redemption. If I can change, anybody else can. If I can do a little bit of introspection, if I can look and realize like actual statistics and read up on different movements and stuff like this, anybody can. And that also means that the people on the sidelines need to learn to let shit go. Let it go. You don't have to like somebody. You don't have to. But you don't need to make it your mission in the world to cancel them.
And it doesn't even have
weird.
to be a big change. You can just be less hardcore as what you used to be.
Yes, and I think that's where I am right now. I'm very critical of a lot of things, especially when it comes to comics or TV shows related to comics. I'm very critical of it. But I'm also more accepting of people. I don't know. It's a hard way to describe it because when I look back at some of my old stuff, I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, what was the matter with you? What was the matter with you? Why did you care? Like, okay, even more recently, I spoke out against Cyclone being the casting, and I can't think of her name right off the top of my head. And it was because
I'm bad with everybody's name, so
it was because I was very close to that character. I wanted I love that character, and it was a biracial, I believe she is. And I was like, this isn't right. You know what I mean? Like, and then I
didn't
look
even know
back
she was biracial.
yeah, and I look back and there was one comment that really got me in that comment section that kind of made me start thinking. And it was like, so this woman is biracial. She's not accepted by white people as roles because she's part black. And she's not accepted by black people for roles because she's part white. When is somebody going to accept her? And I'm like, checkmate. You're right. You're absolutely right. I was wrong many, many times when it came to that kind of thing. And I'm like, yeah, I don't.
So that happened to you too.
Yeah.
For me, it was actually Zendaya.
Oh,
that
is MJ?
said some. Yeah, that said something. She said something kind of. It's on those same lines, but the way she worded it was different. She said that she wants to be in roles that are supposed to be for like white people because she's half white.
Right.
And she doesn't want to take the roles of a dark-skinned black woman because they're not as hired as much, since people who are biracial are considered more favorable. And she says, well, since I'm half white anyway, I might as well just take white roles. And I was like, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
That's super interesting. And so
really
because
is.
of that, I'm just like, okay, so I'm a little bit more open-minded about this now, even if I still didn't like Black Canary's portrayal. I accept it somewhat.
And then another one in the same situation was Hawkman, a man who literally dies and becomes born again and can be any race. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm so dumb. Like, why did I think that was a big deal? This man, I didn't think it was a big deal. I thought it was a wasted opportunity to use somebody of Egyptian descent. That was my big thing here. I'm like, if you're gonna race swap this character, so to speak, let's go full Egyptian, because Hawkman, with his ties to that. And then I'm like, this man dies. He's got a curse on him that he dies. And he's reborn, and he has to find his love, and then he dies, and he's reborn. He could literally be reborn into anybody. But I cared? Why the fuck did I ever care? That is so dumb to me. And now we look at Black Adam, and it looks really good.
It's so weird because, like, I was like, during that time, I guess I was like, there was a lot of people posting about Egypt on your channel. And I'm like, okay, I'm seeing a lot of discussion about Egyptians, of how they were most, since, Egypt is in Africa. And people think Africa is just one place where there's just black people.
Right.
But they don't consider Egypt as part of Africa or being African, since it's the country, or wait, sorry, the continent.
I knew what you
Oh
meant.
my gosh. I had a Raven Simone moment. Every continent in Africa. Oh my gosh. Nobody clipped that. Thank you. And so it's like, it's so weird because how Egyptians look now is not with how they looked back then.
Right.
And it's just, okay, so like the kind of things is this, skin color did change. Like now we have, white Africans now, especially if they're I believe South Africans, and I think so. No, not West. I think it was mostly just South.
Right.
All that kind of stuff. So like, okay, so if they want to be kind of like historical in a way, like this, and this is a long time ago, I guess being darker colored is what it's supposed to be portrayed as.
Right.
Blah 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 blah.
And a lot
I'm
of
not a historian.
I'm not a historian either, but what during that time, and during also the time that Cleopatra was cast as Gal Gadot, I looked more into it, and everything I could find, every scholarly thing I could find was they actually, Egyptians weren't actually black nor white. They were they were ambiguously brown.
Yeah.
And I don't see an issue, and that's kind of where I was at. Like somebody like Oscar Isaac would have been perfect to me for that role, but I have no problem.
Like Cleopatra, I agree.
No, for Hawkman.
I was gonna say what?
But a lot of people talked out about that race swapping. Specifically, like I said, Cyclone and Hawkman, but nobody mentioned anything about, Black Adam. Like
they did, from what I remember.
Oh, they did? Okay. See, there's sometimes I tune it out. So, okay, my apologies. Like
it's not as vocal. That's why. There was only like a few people that are like, wait a minute. But like, isn't he like black or Polynesian and Hawaiian and all that? Apparently he's a huge mix. And there was even a time, oh my gosh, what was that show? I think it was a show back in the day where it was like on a beach, everybody's wearing swimsuits, and that's the whole meme of the running in slow motion thing. Dang, and they remade they did a reboot movie of it or something like that, or remake, and The Rock was in it, and somebody was reacting to it.
Baywatch?
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
So he was like fist bumping a black guy, and he was like, no problem, brother. And the person who's reacting it, who was black, was like, is The Rock black now? Because you can't tell because he's so ambiguous. But apparently he has some black in him and just a crap ton of other stuff. And then I thought hilarious.
He was Hawaiian. Samoan. I don't know what The Rock is. He's
multiple.
Yes. Black and Samoan, I think. I don't know. I don't know, but he can play a lot of different roles because he is that like ambiguous. Yeah, that's such a weird word. Ambiguously brown character. And I think
apparently I'm considered ambiguously brown if a lot of white people just assume I'm from India or Indiana.
India or Indiana? It could be either one.
Correct. Like I've seen white people visit the store, literally like where they're visiting or living and just visit here from like India or Indiana, and they look at me and they go, where are you from? And you see a happy smile on their face, and I'm like, oh shoot, they think I'm from India or Indiana. And I'm like, I'm from here. And they're like, yeah, but where are you from? And I'm like, here. And they're like, okay, but where are your parents from? I'm like, my mom's from Honduras and my dad's from Puerto Rico. And then this happened, and his smile just kind of like became not a smile, and it was like, oh, so we're visiting from Indiana. and I'm like, cool, bro. I'm sorry. Goodness. I was even talking to a really old guy. We were getting, I don't know if you have a Publix where you're at. Dang it.
What is that?
So a Publix is a store. Pretty expensive. Like a grocery store? Yeah. And like back in the day before COVID happened, there would be a line for people to have free samples of food, like a Sam's Club or whatever. And
Oh,
they
okay.
teach you how to make it too, and have these little pamphlets on how to make it and stuff. So I was talking to a guy. I don't even remember what we were talking about. We were rather talking about food or politics. And then he looked at me and said, well, you wouldn't understand. You wouldn't know anything about that because you're from India. And I'm like, and I had like such a pause, and I was like, my mom's from Honduras, my dad's from Puerto Rico. But the funny thing is, on my mom's side, you have like we look more native because we're more indigenous from like the Mayans or whatever. For my dad's
Right.
side, he has like the Tainos natives. Whether we're closely related to those natives, I have no idea. But if I look native enough to be considered Indian, that's kind of weird. And the thing is, I went to it was a Secret Santa thing. My coworkers and I went to the mall. There was an Indian there. He was much lighter skinned and not as light as me though. Like it's a different type of brown.
Right.
But so my coworkers were trying to convince me, we gotta ask him. We gotta ask him if he thinks you look Indian and why. And I'm like, okay. And so they asked him to like, okay, does she look Indian? And he's like, you're not Indian? He's like, oh my gosh, oh, we can ask. So what makes her think that she's Indian to you? We have to know, because she's always getting confused as Indian. And he was like, honestly, it's your eyebrows. And we
It's
have
your
naturally
eyebrows?
bushy eyebrows. And I'm like, oh my gosh. It's my freaking eyebrows. It wasn't the color of my skin, but my eyebrows. And the thing is, like, I can't get rid of the bushy eyebrows. My sister would do my eyebrows, but my mom would
Mhm.
still complain, why is it still so huge? And my sister's like,
Poor
that's
Bianca.
just naturally her eyebrows. She can't change that. And
Oh my.
waxing
I
hurts,
have
so
the
I was doing
exact
that.
opposite eyebrows. I have no eyebrow. Okay, I have a
You
little
have
bit.
no-
You could literally park a semi truck in between my eyebrows. Yeah.
I'm choking.
Oh my god, that's so funny. I out of curiosity, because we're talking about Miss Marvel, do you ever get a little bit of the offhanded racism that they kind of put in there? I know that's kind of a personal
From the
question, but
first episode. Oh, that's what you meant. From the first episode, not really. From what you told me, who knows? From the clip
No.
I saw, I wonder.
No. I mean you personally.
Oh, okay. What was the question again?
Oh my goodness, you are a mess. Do you in your personal life ever get like the weird offhanded racism?
Oh yeah. Not as much. I live in Florida. But the thing is, like, I was never
You
taught
poor
this
thing.
as a kid. I wasn't taught this. I was just told if somebody's mean to you, they're mean. But then hearing a lot of my black coworkers' experiences and them telling me how they talk and what specific tone they use, I am now starting to get it little by little, and I kind of do see how it kind of happens to me. But the thing is, like, I've heard many people say, well, if they didn't mention your race, then, it's not really racism. And then people would say, well, no, it's the tone, it's the way
Right.
they say it. And they're like, that makes no sense. And I'm like, well, then it hasn't happened to you then. Like, who knows? A brown person or a black person can say that to you, a white person, and you don't get it. Or maybe you do, but don't think everybody else is experiencing the same thing in the same way. It's kind of interesting, really. But funny, I do get it a lot from Latino people.
Oh, well, that makes it even weirder.
Oh, well, when you don't speak that much Spanish, it's incredibly offensive to them.
Ah,
And they do
okay.
they say, who here speaks Spanish? And then I'm like, the manager, when talking to me failed. And then they complain to the manager of, how can I not know Spanish when I'm Spanish? And I'm like, sir, I can understand you, but I just can't speak it very well, and that's
Right.
where the problem is. I'm like, cool, how do I respond? Whoop, time to get Google Translate.
Oh my
And
gosh,
it's
that's
like
so
not
funny.
only that, but it's a heavily Cuban area. So a lot of times it's going to be Cuban slang I'm hearing, and I do not know Cuban slang. Like sometimes I would
Uh-huh.
go home and I'm like, Mom, have you heard of this? She's like, oh yeah, that's like a Cuban word. I'm like, shoot, what does it mean? They're like, it means this. And I'm like, well, we don't have that anyway. So,
Oh my
and if you
gosh.
say I only speak a little bit, sometimes they won't even go in the store and just leave.
Wow. See,
Which
I
has also
remember
happened to me when
Mhm.
oh, I haven't seen this lady in forever. So there was this fat lady that would come in, but she would
Yeah.
be in the not inside the store, but outside the door and would say, "Is any guy working here today?" And I said, not until like 12 or whatever, but what is it that you need?" And like, "I need them to carry a bag of dog food." And I'm like, "Oh, what? It's like freaking 20 pounds? Yo, I can do that, no problem." Once you start working there, you kind of build muscle for this stuff.
Right.
So it's like, oh man, 20-pound weights? No. 20 pounds of dog food? I can lift that, no problem. And then she would get irritated and leave.
Oh my goodness.
Like she would literally wait until the afternoon until a guy came in and all that stuff. And then you would hear stuff from like older ladies like, why are you lifting? And I'm like, I'm trying to get you this cat litter, and you said it was heavy. And they're like, yeah, but you're a girl. You should not be lifting. And I'm like, I'm fine. They're like, you're going to get hemorrhoids. And I'm like, I already got hemorrhoids. And they're like, that's
Too
even more
late.
proof that you should not be lifting. And I'm like, I'm fine, miss. And there will be times when the male coworkers would actually come to me and be like, hey, you need help with that? And I would look so offended. And I'm like, no, leave me
I
alone. I
got
can
this.
do it. And the thing is, they're not being sexist. It's just that there were a lot of them were taught in their
Right.
families to help a woman just naturally, even if she doesn't look like she's struggling. And then I'll be like, oh, okay, I've been harsh on you guys, I understand that, but I'm completely fine. If I will ask for help if I need it. And before I would just do things by myself even when I know I couldn't handle it, but I'm like, no, I should ask for help when I need help. So I've been asking for their help whenever I need it now, not being so stubborn with it. And so when I do lift something by myself and it's in front of another woman and the guys are just standing there, the women would wait until we're like out of earshot to say something like, how could he let you lift that? How come he didn't ask for any help? The men these days. And I'm like, oh no, I just told him not to help me.
Yeah.
Yes, I need it. And they're like, oh, okay, that's good then.
That's
Like
so
it's
fun.
like, they don't even have to say I'm a girl. They could say, why would you lift that? That's the tone. That's the
Right.
tone everybody's looking
Exactly.
for. You know? I met a misogynist for the first time many years ago, and he was also insane because he was a demon
Many of
god.
them are.
And he was like, I'm from Wales. Do you know where Wales is? And I'm like, shoot, I saw this in an anime once. And I'm like, okay, it's here, it's near the UK. It's around the UK and Europe somewhere. I don't even remember the answer I said, but I was trying to make it vague because I didn't remember specifically where it was
Right.
anymore. So I was like, okay, it's around this area. And he was like, I'm so surprised. You actually know. And I'm like, is it because you tell people this or is it because I'm a girl? I don't know. And
Oh my
then so
gosh.
he asked me a question. I answered it multiple different ways. Here's the thing, he also has Alzheimer's, right? Keep that in mind. And then it wasn't getting through to him. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna have somebody else. I got a guy coworker, go help him. I was with him with like 5 minutes, explaining the same thing over and over again. But with him, one conversation, boom, goes up to the register to ring out the stuff. And I was like, what the frick did you say? And he was like, oh, he just asked me this. And I'm like, yeah, that's the question I got. And then he was like, and I answered this, this, and this. And I'm like, those were the exact ones I said to him multiple freaking times. And he's like, well, you have to remember, he has Alzheimer's. And I'm like, yeah, but he listened to you once and he bought the product. I told him multiple different times and he's not understanding. I don't get it. And he's like, oh, okay, so Yeah, he most likely was a misogynist. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, that's my first time ever seeing one. What the crap? This is so frustrating. And he's like,
Yep.
yeah, he was definitely a misogynist. And I'm like, what?
I
Oh my
wondered
gosh.
because going back to Miss Marvel, with them being Pakistani, there was one time when I graduated long before you. I'm just gonna say that. And I was in 9th grade when 9/11 happened. And mind you, like I said, I grew up in a very Muslim dominated area. And me and my friend Fatima were actually walking home, or walking to her house one day. It was right 9/11 happened in September, so right after around Halloween. And there was like 4 white dudes in a truck, like bro white dudes. The typical like jock, everything. Just had a bunch of pumpkins, threw them at us, and just started screaming terrorist. Just because, now mind you, they had lived there their whole life. This area was packed with Muslim people. But 9/11 happened and all Muslim people became terrorists. It was fucking horrible in that area for a long time.
I actually had a coworker who was half white, half shoot. What was it? She was from Iran.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm pronouncing that wrong because he would correct me every single time. You're like Iran. And so like you wouldn't know at all that he was like that his mom was from Iran or whatever, because he looks completely white, like he's ghost white. And so like he said that he was told to never tell anybody where he was from or where his mom was from, or that he was half Iranian. Is that what you call it?
Iranian.
And because of what happened. And I'm like, it's like 2020. Are you like 2018, 2019? Are you sure you can't talk about it? He's like, no. He's like, I can't talk about it ever, due to safety and how people would react to him being one of those.
Yeah, it's still people like that video we were talking about earlier. Perch said he had some terrible and I fully expect it, but people still look at people that are Muslim in a very derogatory light. And it's like, you realize this was extremist individuals, people that there's bad people in every group. There's bad people in every religion. There's bad people in every race. There is bad people in every fandom. So let's not like pretend and kind of blanket shield these people. And it's really sad. It honestly is. And I just remember like looking at Fatima and like the fear in her eyes. There was days at a time she wouldn't go to school. There was times where she would just stay in, and it was a really hard time. And I can't even imagine. That's why I think something like this, like Ms. Marvel, is so important, because it opens up people that maybe know nothing about the culture, and they get to live vicariously through Kamala Khan and learn about something a little different than theirs. And that is what we need. Like,
I will say that it might not be popular with Christians.
Why?
I mean, when you first open up, it's the brother. What was his brother's name? Steve or something?
I can't remember. Yusuf was the dad.
He will be Steve today. So you got Steve here, and he's already praying to Allah.
Amir. Was it Amir?
I don't know. He said Allah a few times. But he did say, I believe he said, may Amir forgive you. I believe that's what he said. So he said Allah a few times, and then he said Amir. Wait, Amir? That's what we just said, right? Amir?
Amir, yeah.
Yeah. And that might already, like, let a lot of Christians leave because of that.
That's so irritating, because Christian God is not the only God. We need to be more accepting. And that's why I love this. I get why Christians may be turned off. I get it. But give different cultures a chance. You're not the supreme culture. You know what I mean? Like, there is others. It's okay. And that's okay for all of them to exist. So when people come up and they're like,
That
"Well,
would
do
go
you
against
believe-"
our religion.
to give others a chance would go against your
To
religion.
learn
Isn't that a
to
Christianly
learn about
thing?
any other gods. Since the Bible itself
Ugh.
says there is multiple gods, but there is one true God, and that's what you focus on. So if they were to hear about any other god, including Amir or Allah, that will just make them shut this off. But it could also be like how, I don't know how to explain it. Not like how extreme you are, but like how into it you are, I guess. Like for me, I had a reaction when I saw him
Right.
praying to Allah. It almost made me want to shut it off. And then I am like, wait, they're freaking Muslim. Of course they're going to be praying to Allah. I have to
Right.
relax. I got to chill out, you know? I remember one time my father and I were talking about the news. It was was it in the Middle East? Don't remember, but it was a guy who was Muslim. He was driving a truck, I believe, and he has an alarm on his phone to start praying. So the alarm went off. He stopped the truck, got out of the truck, and then started praying, disrupting traffic. And I was telling my dad, I'm like, you see this? This is some freaking crazy stuff, man. And he was like, well, I respect them for it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
What do you mean? He's like, because that's what we're supposed to do. And I'm like, we're supposed to stop traffic to pray? He was like, well, no, obviously not stop traffic, but we're supposed to be praying just as much as they are, because that's how devoted they are to their faith.
Right.
And I was like, I never thought of it that way. But that could explain everything, because when I'm driving with my dad, I always, when he's on the wheel, I always hear him praying. He whispers. He prays while he's
Aw.
driving. He's praying in the shower. He's praying, like doing everything and all that stuff, you know?
I mean, you got to respect it. You got to
Yeah.
respect, and I get
And
what
we
you're
made a joke about
saying.
it too. The father was like, if you keep on praying, you're gonna forget to eat and all that stuff. And he was like, hey, you can't say that. And that's his own dad, and that's what I found pretty funny. And I'm like, that's pretty funny. I did hear that a lot of people did not like that there was like Muslim people that were like, this wasn't represented enough. We needed more representation.
What?
We need more of our culture. We need everything in there. And I'm like, okay, listen, you gotta chill. If this was actually about Muslim culture, then that'd be understandable. But it's not. It's about a girl who just happens to be Muslim, and then she develops powers, and there's this whole story and everything, and identifying yourself and that kind of thing. You can't expect to have your culture jammed in every second
Right.
of the
And I
episodes.
think they did such a that actually surprises me, because I thought they really, and of course I'm not Muslim, so I can't speak to that, but I thought the representation of culture, of religion, of filming inside a mosque and showing what happens in the separation of church services, and so I thought they did a really good job. I'm surprised. And actually, like, I get what you're saying about that, but to me, I feel like that you're losing the plot if you can't accept somebody else's religion. That's what America was founded on, right? Religious freedoms and everything else. Like, I get you don't have to like it, but that doesn't mean, I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm not, an organized religion person. But like,
you don't have to be in an organized religion. This is just something with them specifically. This is something that they personally do not want to deal with, so they don't, and they won't. And so
okay,
they
and
just,
that's their right.
yeah. And I'm
It
like,
doesn't
if
mean
you
I
don't
have to
wanna-
like it.
Yeah. There's this one thing that we didn't talk about that I actually
that?
kind of enjoyed. So you didn't see the movie. Me, Robert, and Liana saw the movie. So there was a movie called Turning Red, and
Yes.
some Christians, I realize that is not the majority. Some vocal minority Christians were saying like how this is just a rebellious movie for a daughter to go against her mother, and her mother was the villain, which was all not true.
Right, she was just an antagonist, in my
mhm.
understanding.
And one thing was that the daughter like she uses her panda powers to get into a concert, so she doesn't pay for the concert, right? Not a lot of people talked about that, but it was mostly like that she didn't face any repercussions for what she did, because when she first
Right.
turned into a panda, when she got into puberty, she was doing a lot of damage on the street and could have got lots of people killed. Like there's scenes where stuff is falling down and it almost got the people,
Right.
and because she obviously didn't cater her weight to how it's gonna affect buildings and all that stuff. But when the mother turned into a panda, she went to the concert and literally ruined the buildings and could have killed kids and all
Oh
that
my
stuff. She's like as
goodness.
big as Godzilla type of, almost as big as Godzilla, I believe.
Right.
And but in the end, she has to raise enough money to rebuild that Sky Dome.
Oh
But
wow.
May, her daughter, which is what the movie's about, she didn't face any repercussions, mostly. Mostly because it was about like a mother and daughter reconciling at the end. She's like, yeah, I know you're changing and all that stuff. But the property damage is where I'm like, is nobody gonna talk about the property damage she did? Hello, she could have killed people. But in this Miss Marvel show, she sneaks out knowing that it was going to upset her mother, and of course she did it
Right.
anyway, because she finds this event very important for her, because her mother said no, you cannot go to AvengerCon, which AvengerCon is freaking awesome, by the way.
Yeah, it looks totally amazing.
She eats popcorn, right? I eat popcorn. And when she comes back home, that's when her mother's waiting for her, knowing that she snuck out.
Yeah.
And she's like, you knew this would upset me, and you still did it anyway. And she was like extremely angry. I don't remember if a punishment was being made, but I know she's giving her like the silent treatment.
Yeah.
And
she
it kind of sucks, because she was like, you can't wear a Captain Marvel outfit, it's so skimpy and stuff. And I'm like, just wear baggy ones, I guess.
Right.
It's not that skinny, it's not that skimpy, especially the jacket part. And then she's like, you know what, you can go, but you have to bring your dad with you. And to me, I was like, that's a win-win, just
Right.
bring your dad with you.
I
I
felt
went,
so bad for the parents.
oh, I feel bad more for the dad. She's like, I made you a Hulk outfit. And I'm like, dang, you made that in less than a day? And so the dad pops out wearing green paint, and he's excited. And she's so angry that she's, not allowed to go with her friend, not allowed
Right.
to wear the outfit she's been working hard on, or in, the one she wants, and, not trusted enough that she just like breaks down and yells at her parents and everything, which she's like, man, I think I made my dad cry and all that
Yeah.
stuff. And it's like, I understand her point, but I also understand the mother's point. And I was like, listen, it's not that embarrassing to go with your parents and all that stuff. It can be a family event, it's fun. Also, just wear the Hulk outfit, go to the bathroom, change into the Captain
Yep.
Marvel outfit. Like, her dad's pretty chill.
Yeah,
He
I
wouldn't.
felt bad. Go ahead.
No, sorry, you go. I'm done.
No, I felt really bad for the dad. I felt bad for both the parents because the mom worked on that outfit. But I get it. Like, it does seem like her dad was a lot more chill and would kind of, when they got there, maybe let her change and do the cosplay thing and maybe just change back. He put his green makeup on. He came in there all excited. And, like, you could see his heart breaking. And I felt so bad. But, like, I also get it from the teenage girl, standpoint, where it's like, I just want to go with my friends. I just want to go have fun. I get it. I get both sides of it. But she broke his heart, and she felt bad. And what I do like about it is not only did she, show that remorse for that part, but when she came back from AvengerCon, she faced repercussions. It wasn't just oh, you snuck out, you bad little girl. No, like, her mom was pissed, and it was clear for a while, and she felt terrible. And I thought that was really good, like, showing that emotional, almost immaturity of a 16-year-old, and not realizing what they do to their parents, because nobody does at 16, right? We think we know best. But then also showing that, there's consequences for your action, no matter which way you take it. And I thought that was
I agree. Sorry, I was like so quiet. I'm just like listening to you.
No, I thought she did. I really enjoyed this show. I don't know if it was the kid in me or the culture or what, but this show, I'm very much so looking forward to the rest of the season. This isn't one like Hawkeye where I'm like, it's good, but I don't care too much. This one is going to be a sleeper hit where the views were reported as so bad, right? Which actually they weren't bad. They were just lower for Marvel, right? It's going to be a sleeper hit. This is going to be one where people see an episode and they're like, I might check it out. Like, this is what Marvel needs to do to bring in a younger crowd, and they're doing it really well. I really like it.
I think so too. So like she reminds me of me because I'm still currently a person that's doing this. Like she's constantly daydreaming. And it's constantly getting her into trouble. And that's
Right.
that still happens with me. I'm constantly daydreaming and I'm still constantly getting in trouble for that. But now I feel like it's more like a habit that I can't break out of, especially since I'm so tired. But like, like it's just so fun to see. You see doodles and you see art
The
everywhere.
aesthetic is so good.
Yes, the transitions. It's so fun.
It is.
It's fun to look at. It's fun to see. And me loving like animation, especially like transition wise and all that stuff, and seeing beautiful things. I'm like, this is so much fun.
And how
Mr.
they do,
Wilson
I
is
love how they
here.
do the text. The text messages, oh,
Yeah.
it's so cute.
I was like looking everywhere. I'm like, I don't want to miss anything.
Me too. I caught myself like to the music a couple of times, like bouncing in my seat. Like it was fun, and I think people need to give it a chance. I do. I definitely do. It's very, at the very minimum, to watch the first episode and see that creativity that's put in is worth it. I can't wait till you see. I'm curious to see what you think of the next two. You'll have to tell me when you watch them because you're gonna love it even more. I can guarantee that.
I'll probably watch it tonight after I get home from work. Exhausted.
Ew, adulting is hard. All right, let's wrap up. Is there anything that we missed before we go?
I think we finally got everything.
Right.
Bruno is white, and I love him so much, and he's such an amazing friend.
And every time they said his name, I thought about Encanto.
Me
I've
too.
had
And it
I've had
wasn't
that
on
song in my
purpose.
head all day now. Now I need to go listen to it. That's what I'm gonna. You know what? I still love the Luisa song. I still listen to the Luisa song.
I just added something to my story, and I added the Luisa song because I thought
It's
it
so
matched.
good.
It's so good.
So relatable. I love it. I love it. All right, guys. Make sure you guys check out Bianca's channel. And do you have anything? You doing any videos? Lacquer.
I know. It's just that I was like mostly working at night this entire week, and so when I was on my break, I was too tired to do anything.
I get it. I totally get it. But yes,
But
make sure
expect
you
a
guys
video this week for more
Yay!
indies.
That's right. Awesome. All right, guys. We will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I can feel, I can look, I feel what's on my mind. If I drink, if I smoke, I keep up with the guys, and you see me holding up my middle finger to the world. Tuck your ribbons in your purse, 'cause I'm not just a picture, I'm more than just a picture. I'm a daughter and a sister.